I would like to share a very simple meditation with you. One can always commit oneself to a test of sorts. What happens when you sit quietly and do nothing? What's the nature of the experience that arises? Is the experience one of sufficiency, the sense of more than enough? Is it satisfying? I think of this as something like a baseline. Consciously or unconsciously, the seeker is always after satisfaction, the sense of arriving home and of residing there. Typically, the mind goes running on, searching out notions to weave into a story. This is because we've addicted ourselves to storytelling, and this storytelling gives us our characteristic experience of the world. We invest our lives in stories about ourselves, our resume, our history, our relationships, our jobs and attainments. We don't live what's actually available to experience as it presents itself. We don't live the richness of non-objective experience. Instead, we live our habits of mind, and the world conforms to these. We live wherever our attention goes. And our attention, rather than being effortless and free, is often compulsive, dedicated to imaginings about the past and the future to which we attach great importance. The world isn't out there, a collection of objects in space. The world is our experience of our own experience. It's an interpretation, and this interpretation occurs according to our guiding beliefs, assumptions, and emotions. The fearful find themselves in a world that justifies their fears, the angry in a world with people who are blameworthy. We look out into the world and see ourselves. In the silence, when all of the content kicked up by mental activity settles, there is non-objective experience, love, beauty, all is wellness, and this experience is deeply satisfying, more than enough. So sitting and doing nothing provides a test, a baseline. What is the nature of this experience? What happens when we attend to the nature of this experience? Typically, we resist the silence in order to chase some bright, shiny object, some ambition or desire, something that arises out of the sense that what we are currently experiencing isn't enough. Or on the other hand, we're in flight from some sort of discomfort. Typically, we're distracted from what is, and we walk through our days distracted. We invest ourselves in this restless experience and endeavor to resolve restlessness from within restlessness upon a baseline that's restless. What we think, assume, believe, appears in the foreground, becomes what is most noticeable, occupies our attention. So the microbiologist or radiologist or gemologist is trained to see, has practices of seeing drilled into him or her to bring phenomena we otherwise wouldn't notice or make sense of into the foreground. Just as a concept gives you the old or young lady in the famous drawing or the angels in the trees, a propensity to judgment and blame finds its targets in the world. Callousness finds grounds for indifference. Anger finds justification for anger. And every mother finds beauty in her child's face. In every case, we see what is foremost in our attention. We don't see because there are objects. but because we have eyes informed by the past, and our attitudes and habits of mind disclose a world that reflects our state of mind. The self always experiences only itself in the world. But because the self is the past, because it's knowledge, this experience is thin, too familiar, unsatisfying. Concepts are not rich. But there is an emptying of the self, or better, of selfing, I prefer the verb, a slowing down or cessation of all the mental processes that generate a sense of person, of self-consciousness, and of the subject. When this occurs, one realizes, and for this I will use what seems to me the most apt metaphor. When this occurs, one realizes that every day is Christmas Day. The sacred returns. The beauty of non-objective or mooted experience, a kind of music in the trees, a rich sense of all is wellness reveals itself, and reality looks very much like love or eros. With the emptying of the self, there are no subjects, and there are no subject-object relationships. There's only the supreme and contented peace of the absolute open, the delighted emptiness. The beauty of the absolute open, the everything of experience in this moment, has no context. It doesn't make sense. It can't be understood. A thing only means something because of the past, because of our conditioning. This context imposes a sense value upon things. But just as the letter A or the word cat is only meaningful, only shows itself in the foreground as a meaningful unity, or as a unity at all, it only does this due to its context, the other letters and the language. Without a context, the letter A, the word cat, nothing makes sense. And this is the truth of how things are. The absolute open is without context, and the sacred, the ineffable, that which is beyond words and our mummifying concepts, the all-sufficient, this all-sufficiency is incomprehensible, and this is its supreme beauty. This is Patrick McCarty in Middleton, Wisconsin, and I've included my contact information below.